There's a fissure in the Dub Nation space-time continuum because of some players leaving a team that just won a world championship. The team themselves repeatedly said they're going to run it back. They haven't. They're now relying on youth. And the question is, why is the team doing this? Are they doing this because they really believe in the youth movement and the young players that have not really proven much yet? Is the team hurting for cash? These are questions that I hope Eric Prisbell can at least help me answer. I'm not expecting you, Eric, to be the Sal for all this, but you certainly have some tremendous credentials. You've done work covering the Warriors, and we're going to break all of this down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Eric Prisbell on Twitter at Eric Prisbell. I hope you pronounced your last name correct, sir. You currently work for Sports Business Journal. Your credentials are solid, second to none with bylines for the Washington Post, USA Today, and so much more. Eric, I believe you're based in Texas right now. You're originally from Jersey, but you wrote a story recently about the Golden State Warriors and the fact that they pulled in over $800 million in revenue. And I guess my first question to you is, first of all, how are you doing? You okay? Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thanks so much for having me, Cyrus. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. So I guess my question first off is, do you have a more precise number yet in terms of the total amount of revenue? And if not, is that an accurate assessment that in the 2021-2022 season, the Golden State Warriors generated over $800 million in revenue?
Absolutely. Yeah. Projected. Yeah. More than 800 million. And you got to understand, like, nobody's in this ballpark. Like, they're alone. They're not just alone this year in the NBA. That's the most in the history of the NBA. And when you go even more broadly than that, and you think about the history of United States sports and, in this country, I remember the New York Yankees one year when I covered baseball pulled in, I'm ballparking here, in the $600 million vicinity. So you're talking rarefied air with the Dallas Cowboys, New York Yankees. I mean, 800 million plus. That's the most that I've heard of, through my research and talking to other people, for American sports franchise. The only thing comparable, I think, is like a team like FC Barcelona, something at that level. I mean, what the Warriors are doing, nobody's doing. And we can go into it more deeply how they're doing this, but it really sets them apart, not just on the basketball court, winning the fourth title since 2015, but off the court, all of the adjacent businesses, their innovative approach. I mean, I boiled it down to this. I mean, in 2018, 2019, they were an innovative sports franchise, and that's wonderful. They've eclipsed that. They've transcended that at this point. They are a robust, thriving sports and entertainment company, and that puts them in a class by themselves. And people really have to appreciate what Joe Lacob, Peter Guber are doing, and Brandon Schneider, the CEO on the business side, what they are accomplishing, and their vision, which is so profound, and also the culture that they've established. And it all revolves around innovation. And this one mantra, hey, if you're not failing, you're not trying. They're going to push the envelope in every conceivable way, and the results speak for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's and look, they just won a world championship. I guess my two questions I have for you immediately, and I'm so happy you're on, Eric. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to join me. First of all, how much money did they earn just in the postseason alone? And where is that $800 million coming from exactly?
Great question. I wish I had specifics on the postseason revenue. I do not. Obviously, making it to the finals and winning the championship created a heck of a lot more revenue, because I think it was, before they made the finals, it was projected to be over in the vicinity of 700 million. Now it's over 800 million when I talked to them right before game one of the NBA finals. But, here's the thing. I mean, it's not just corporate sponsorships, ticket revenue, the revenue from the gate, media rights, all of that. That's great. And really strong for the Warriors in particular. But it's these adjacent businesses. It's, being the first sports team to have an NFT drop, and the sales from just the first drop alone have eclipsed $2 million. It's the cryptocurrency partnership with FTX that's worth in excess of $10 million. It's coming up with, the concept even for Suite Exchange, this online resale marketplace for suites that many people feel could become the StubHub of reselling suites for single game events. So in addition to that, Golden State Entertainment, your original content creator there, and the potential for that is just enormous. And once again, I go back to what I've asked them specifically. I said, what's the blueprint? What are you following here in order to generate all this revenue and come up really with the vision? And they said one word: Disney. That's it. It started out as an amusement park, and it has expanded beyond anybody's wildest dreams. And that's what that's the path the Warriors are on right now with what they're doing. They are a championship level NBA basketball team, but well beyond that, they are a sports and entertainment company, and that's bringing in just enormous revenue that at this point, nobody else in the NBA can really rival.
You're absolutely right. They actually own the land that Chase Center and all their headquarters are set in. And I know they have bank payments they got to deal with. But you're right. I've read stories where they're interested in exploring, like, making movies and creating entertainment content for streaming purposes. I mean, the sky doesn't seem to be the limit, or maybe the sky is the limit, whatever the adage is, in terms of the Warriors and what they can do with this enterprise. I'm curious to know, of that $800 million, the payroll expenditure last year was approximately $350 million, I believe. I might be wrong on that. So I guess my question to you, if you have the answer, I don't know if you do, take away like taxes. I don't know how much they have to pay each month or each year to the banks to slowly pay off the loans they had to accrue to build Chase Center and to buy the land. When all said and done, over $800 million is a lot of money, but are they actually taking home a profit from all that? Like, are they sitting comfortably, or despite all that, is it more closer to like a break-even point? Like, how are they looking in terms of profits? Do you know?
Great question, because they're certainly spending a lot on the player side. I don't have a specific answer from that. I would say they're not exactly sitting comfortably, only because they keep pushing things. They keep pushing the envelope and with innovation, and they want to broaden themselves out, expand the horizon as much as they can. I think it was 8 years ago, they had 120 employees within the organization. Now it's over 500 employees. Right. They continue to expand, and, it starts at the top. Peter Guber and Joe Lacob saying we're at the beginning of the beginning. And, right after they win a championship, they're right on it again and trying to figure out what other adjacent businesses they can invest in. They're into esports. They were one of the first franchises to purchase a G League team that became the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Right.
And one of the only ones that became profitable. So they're looking at all different aspects. They want to own a WNBA team. And, I had a call earlier today that said there's a strong possibility that it could come to the Bay Area in the next 2 to 3 years. If it does, there's no ownership better than what you see with the Warriors right now. With their, they are well respected, certainly well accomplished, and there's no stopping, that from continuing, into the future.
Yeah, I've heard speculation too that the WNBA wants to expand. I've been making the argument on Twitter, and you can follow Eric at Eric Prisbell. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, at Dog Surf Roadshow. Or, by the way, this Rick Barry replica shirt jersey. Rick Barry and I started our own little apparel company. You can find that just by looking at my pinned tweet, and those shirts are available there. But I've tweeted the fact that the Bay Area, I think, would be a fantastic home for a WNBA expansion franchise, and it does not surprise me that the Warriors' current ownership will be involved in that. A lot more to talk about with Eric. First, I have to give some love to one of our relatively new but slowly becoming a long-time sponsor of our program, Arcade 1UP, the company behind the rejuvenation of the NBA JAM franchise. For those of you that remember playing NBA Jam as a kid. Kevin Calabro going boom shakalaka. Eric, do you remember that? Are you old enough to play that when you were a kid? The NBA Jam
Oh, thanks for the compliment. But yeah, absolutely. I go way back before that. But NBA Jam, that was a popular game in college. We played it well into the night, too many nights. But yeah,
you're absolutely right, man. Same. And it was just a fun arcade game. It was fun if you were playing at home. Well, they're bringing it back. No fouls, no free throws. You can pre-order now from arcade1up.com. That's arcade, the number 1 up.com for an estimated early September ship date. Arcade 1UP is the place for fun. They have other classics like Golden Tee, where I spent hours of my life at a bar in North Beach just spinning that wheel playing golf, Mortal Kombat, and many others starting at just $399. And check this out. They're giving away an NBA Jam Shaq edition to a Locked On listener. Enter for a chance to win a game console for your man cave at arcade1up.com/locked-on. That's arcade, the number 1 up.com/locked-on. You've got till July 8th to enter to win NBA Jam Shaq Edition console. Don't miss out. Enter today. Who are you going to play with?
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For your second listen, get up to date on the latest news and rumors in the NBA in just 30 minutes every day with Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA, your daily NBA update in just 30 minutes. You can follow Eric Prisbell on Twitter at Eric Prisbell, Prisbell, for all his content, which is fantastic. You're currently writing and producing content for Sports Business Journal. So the Golden State Warriors, and they made some controversial decisions this offseason, stemming largely from the fact that during the parade, during post-game interviews, they said they want to run it back. They want to keep the same team together. And that's a strategy I personally support strongly. If you win a world championship with a team, why change it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But nonetheless, the team is deciding to let go of nearly their entire veteran bench, whether it's players who were relatively inconsequential like Damian Lee, like Juan Toscano-Anderson, to a player like Bielitsa, who went back to Europe. Then you have the more vitally important players. Otto Porter Jr. signs a 2-year, $12+ million deal with the Toronto Raptors. And then Gary Payne II, the one that hurts the most, who signed with the Portland Trailblazers for 3 years, $27 million. Every indication to me seems to be, and it's hard to know this objectively, but it seems to me that the Warriors, if they wanted to, could afford to spend to, at a minimum, bring Gary Payne II back. I mean, look, if they're spending all this money on these other ventures, if they're looking to buy an expansion WNBA team, I think they could afford to have paid for Gary Payne II. I understand that over 3 years with the luxury tax penalty, that contract would have actually been over $100 million. I know that's a lot of money. I get it. But perspective is also important based on the revenue you bring in. In your opinion, Eric, are they making these decisions intentionally? Meaning, like, do they actually want to let go of these veterans because they trust that youth on the bench that much? Or do you think these are cost-cutting measures, or maybe a combination of the two? I don't know. Your thoughts?
It's a great question. I don't think they can. I don't think they can keep. I didn't think they could keep all of those guys. I didn't think they would keep Porter. Peyton was the one that I had hoped, just from a basketball fan standpoint and appreciating their dynasty, that I hoped that they would find a way to keep. That one hurts. That one, I think, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that in the win column in the regular season. What he meant to them after he came back from the broken elbow, especially defensively, I mean, he was fantastic and really an unsung hero for what he meant to them late in the playoffs. Obviously, they don't win a title if Curry doesn't become Curry in the NBA Finals, and Andrew Wiggins doesn't become what people thought he might become when he was the number one draft. And I go way back with Andrew. I covered him when he was in high school at his school in West Virginia. I went out there and spent a few days with him at his house where his host family lived, and I played video games with him, and he was I could get into that. Yeah. I mean, it was just remarkable.
No, expand on that, please. Because if you have time, I do. I mean, how was that? Tell us about that.
He was the number one player in the country, and he was so good he reclassified and jumped early, graduating high school, and went to Kansas. But when he was at, I believe it was called Huntington Prep in West Virginia, I was at USA Today. So I went out to West Virginia, and spoke to his high school coach and said, let me spend a couple days here with you guys and with Andrew to do the definitive story at that point on him. He was a freakish athletic talent, but at some times you'd watch him play and you say, the guy's invisible. You can't tell he's on the court. What impact is he really making, considering his athletic gifts, even at that point? And I just happened to be there at the same time Roy Williams from North Carolina came to visit him. And I remember talking to Roy while we were watching him practice. And it was just, and I said, what do you think? Have you ever seen anything like this? And I remember it clear as day. He said, Roy Williams said to me, he looks like Secretariat. He is just absolutely freakish in his athletic ability. The question is, would it translate? He was always very quiet, very polite. And the same thing at Kansas when I covered him a ton with Joel Embiid on the same team. You could just see the athletic ability, but at other times he would just blend in and you could even forget he was on the court. So it has taken a long time for that to blossom. But personally, having known him back then, I was really happy to see, it all come together, all of it, the aggressiveness, the athletic ability, kind of just take over the game when you're needed to do it. And certainly when you're able to do it, and that he showed the confidence in being able to do that. And that was, one of the big differences that enabled them to win the title. Losing Peyton will hurt. I don't how do you make up for that? Who's going to fill that role? That said, they have the core back. And I think Clay, once he's back for a full season, will be better than what he was kind of up and down during this regular season. He's still got it. Curry certainly is not losing it. Draymond Green, he's going to be an impact. I don't know how much of an impact offensively, he will be. That was fascinating to see how it played out in the postseason.
It was.
Kevon Looney was tremendous, and I think he could build on that. I just don't see anybody. I think they start as the favorite in a very deep Western Conference. It's deep. Minnesota thinks they got better with Rudy Gobert. They think they do by giving up, a ridiculous number. It's like the Herschel Walker trade going way back. But are they even in the top 4 in the league, in the conference?
No.
In the conference, I don't think they are. I think it starts with Golden State. You don't really know what Phoenix will be. Will they have Kevin Durant at that point? Who knows? I think Denver will be very good. Memphis is not going anywhere. They have a ton of assets, and they'll still be in the mix as well. So it is going to be extremely competitive. Losing Peyton hurts, but I still have them as a slight favorite in a very deep conference.
Yeah, and let me know if you think my logic is sound here, if you disagree. I am with you. I still think the Warriors are the favorites, but I feel like if you're in the position that they were in, coming off that World Championship, why not add certainty? Why not add, a contingency in terms of depth? I feel like their depth was second to none in the NBA this year. And I just don't understand the rationale of sacrificing that depth, because you're right. The core of the team is they're all Hall of Famers. I mean, this is some of the greatest players in the history of the game. Steph, Clay, Dre, and then Wiggins, who you can make the argument was the second best player in the NBA Finals. I don't think you can disagree with that. It would be hard to. But at the same time, the regular season is a grind. These 82 games add up. And I thought the minutes were there for the core to rest during the regular season. Maybe play 25, 30 a night. Don't play back-to-backs. And then the veterans like the GP2s, maybe Otto Porter Jr. I didn't think they were going to bring back, but I feel like the regular season was the time where you play these other players more so. But if they're good enough, they can carry you into the postseason, and then you have your core fresh and ready. That was my main issue for losing GP2. I also don't like the fact that GP2, his defense, like you said, John Morant hated playing against him. Even Nikola Jokic had issues playing against him. I don't know if they win that Celtics series without him. I really don't. I think he was a difference maker at that level. And so that's why it hurts. This is where I'm a little disturbed that the Warriors are putting so much faith in this young core who has not proven themselves. Wiseman's played 30-something games in his entire career, didn't play at all last year. Kuminga's 19, Moody is 20. They haven't really proven themselves much outside of a few appearances here and there. Do you agree with me that I just don't think it was smart to let go of that veteran bench, or do you think they're going to be okay? Your thoughts?
I don't think it's a killer. But here's my critique. Here's my criticism. If you're going to lose Peyton, I would have used that late first round draft pick to take Andrew Nembhard from Gonzaga, who was really good in the fast-paced
Yes.
offense, free-flowing offense. They play basketball. It's like a European type game with Gonzaga, and so I thought he really fit in as a backup point guard for the Warriors, and he could be groomed and build off that. Instead he goes first pick, second round. So he was available, and I thought he was a first round talent. Instead, they take Patrick Baldwin, who I thought was a reach. I thought that was a bit of a flyer. He showed the potential, as a prospect coming up. But let's face it, he did not have a good season last year. And I was surprised. I wasn't the only one to see him go in the first round. And, so that was a question mark for me. That was a bit mysterious why they made that move, what they saw in Baldwin that other people do not see at this point. And look, hey, if anybody is in position where they could take a bit of a flyer, it's the Warriors, sure. I think Kuminga is going to be fantastic athletically.
Same.
Super young. I mean, super young. We just don't know yet. I think Wiseman's more of a mystery for me. They know more. Okay, they've seen him. They know more than we do on this. I just don't know exactly what we're going to get from him, really at all. Poole showed flashes of absolute brilliance. I think he should have got most improved player
Agreed.
of the year in the league. I mean, he was in G League. John Morant was great last year. He's even better this year. But, you talk about the evolution of Jordan Poole. That's remarkable. That's what the league is all about. He certainly has to improve more, not only defensively, but, he had moments where he could be a little bit reckless, with the ball, I think. So he can improve there. They got a lot of assets. I mean, just talking about this, I just think that you put all this together under Steve Kerr, who had a fantastic postseason. I think he outcoached. He won the coaching battle in the finals. He just seemed to really push the right buttons at the right time. And he made a huge calculated risk, really, in sitting Draymond Green when he had to be put on the bench late in whatever game that was, to be able to win that game. And it worked out. So I trust what they have. Yeah. I mean, game 4. I really think that they have everything in place to get back to the finals. It won't be easier. It won't be easy, but it might be easier than it was this year. I mean, they were the 3rd seed, and what if John Morant doesn't get hurt? Are they out in the second round now? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like a Gary Payton II would have made things easier, and they just made it harder on themselves. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong on this. And Eric, speaking of assets, if you don't mind sticking around just for a few minutes more, I got to ask you about that, because the Warriors do have assets, and there's a superstar player out there whose name incredibly is still connected with the Golden State Warriors. We'll touch on that in just a moment, but first got to give love to another longtime sponsor of this program, Built Bar. These are yummy, incredible treats. Eric, I don't know, have you ever had a Built Bar? You ever heard of those things?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, yeah, so you know about them. All right.
No doubt.
And these are like protein bars that I always recommend eating if you want to put something in your body that isn't high on sugar, doesn't have the garbage that comes with like a candy bar. It's packed with 17 grams of protein, on average only 130 calories per bar, and that protein is what really fills you up. And the protein is made out of collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. It's something that tastes good and is good for you, and nearly all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. The granola is my personal favorite. That's what I recommend. They're delicious. Just go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and get 15% off your order. Again, the promo code is LOCK15 to get 15% off your order at Built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So is Eric Prisbell on Twitter. You can follow him on Twitter at Eric Prisbell. Prisbell is how you spell his last name. We're talking about assets, and the superstar I'm referring to, no secret, obviously, is Kevin Durant. He's holding up the entire offseason right now as the Nets look to make a trade. Anything you're hearing, and what do you think? Is there a possibility? I know Lacob loves KD. That is his white whale. He was incredibly bummed that KD left in 2019. Even though like it would probably require sacrificing a lot to get him back in terms of that young talent they have. Do you think there's a possibility he comes back to the Warriors? And have you heard anything? Your thoughts?
I would love that storyline. I really would. That is rich, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, you know, he won 2 titles there, and he felt it was Steph's town, and it is. I mean, I remember watching Kevin Durant when he was 12 years old in, I think it was Rockville, Maryland, when I was working at the Washington Post back then. You knew he was going to be a phenom, a superstar, and he's had one of the most interesting career paths for a top 15 player that we've ever seen. And I think it's unfortunate that he left Golden State, followed his friend Kyrie Irving down a path that's gone down a bad path at this point. And he's looking to kind of regain some stability in from a legacy standpoint. He's already a top 15 player. But I think had he stayed with Golden State, recovered from the Achilles, you know, won a couple more titles, then you know, he probably would be a top 10 player, which is what I think Steph Curry is right now. Has edged into the top 10, and that's hard to do. And I think he's getting right there in that debate with Kobe Bryant. I still edge toward Kobe, but it's close.
I'm with you.
Yep. Curry's coming along. Kevin Durant, it's tough. I mean, he wants to go to Phoenix or Miami. Miami doesn't have a lot of assets. I mean, if you want to keep Jimmy Butler there, what are you really going to be able to give up to make it attractive for Brooklyn? Unless you're going to bring in a 3rd team, 4th team, you know, Donovan Mitchell, they say he's not going to be traded. I don't necessarily believe that because they're giving everything up right now. And I think they would be primed to be in the tanking market next year because there's a 7'3" French guy named Victor out there who everybody's going to want in the 2023 draft looking ahead. Phoenix, can you get Kevin Durant without giving up Devin Booker? I think that's the hard part. So if you give up Devin Booker, the cornerstone of the franchise, where are you? You just gave up. Yeah, I just don't see how that
does Brooklyn do that trade if it doesn't involve Devin Booker, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I don't think
so.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't see that happening. I don't know where he goes. Like Toronto, I don't know. Do you have a hunch? Do you have a guess?
Well, I would love to see Memphis make a run here. They have so many assets. See that. they go 10 deep. You know, they go 10 deep, and you know, you keep Jaren Jackson, you keep Morant, and you package. And I'm not talking. Well, I don't even know what the package would have to entail after that Minnesota trade for Gobert, which you know, is not
disaster. Do you agree with me, Eric? That was baffling. I thought that was so one-sided. I don't know what Minnesota was thinking. Do you agree? I mean, like, it's crazy, right?
Totally. I mean, I think they gave away some playoff games. They're rough down the stretch, but 20 years old in Anthony Edwards. It's going to happen. And I was just really intrigued to see how they handled the offseason. But by bringing in Rudy Gobert, who's 30 years old.
Yes.
Struggles offensively, obviously.
Yes.
I don't like it. I just don't like that.
And he's peaked, and he's already peaked. He's not going to get better. Yeah. You know, it's just crazy.
And they gave up way too much. I think Memphis could put together a package if they're really smart about it. But I don't like what Memphis did in the draft. I mean, I think they're right there. Memphis is right there with so many pieces. They just have to figure out what's exactly the core. What could we give up to kind of get the finishing piece here? And it's very hard to do. The storyline that I would love to see that I think would be able to redeem Kevin Durant's legacy is if he went back to Oklahoma City.
Oh,
you know, for Kevin Durant, it's all about where's home. You know, what city will accept me, embrace me, will love me to the extent that maybe Curry's loved in the Bay Area. And I think it's Oklahoma City. He made the right decision to get away from Westbrook when he did. But if he went back there, and they have the assets to do it. Sam Presti has the assets, I think, to be able to do it. I think they would. I mean, I live 2 hours south of OKC, and they'd welcome him with open arms. Now, would he be able to lead him to a championship? Probably not. But if he could lead them deep in the playoffs again, that'd go a long way to really enhancing his legacy during the latter stages of his career. I think it'd be a wonderful story, just from a story standpoint, from a legacy standpoint. But look, I mean, he's one of the top 5 players in the league, I think, still, you know, when healthy. And he looked that way for a lot of last season. So a lot of intrigue here. The other thing is, the longer this goes, Cyrus, I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in Brooklyn, because they just can't find an adequate trade partner to make this work.
Same, because I feel like Sean Marks is not going to just give them up. He seemed to put his foot down, and you're right. I do think that's a very strong possibility. I also feel like the Warriors, as weird as it sounds, has the best assets to trade for him. In other words, like if the Warriors approached Sean Marks and said, we'll give you, I don't want to give a Kuminga. I think the potential there is just so damn high. But if they came with a package that, if you're giving up Jordan Poole, but you're getting Seth Curry back in the process, I could stomach that. And then if you're giving up like Moses Moody, Wiggins, Wiseman, I don't know if Brooklyn would say yes to that, but it's just weird. The Warriors strangely have the assets for it, but again, you're right. I don't know if the Warriors have the stomach to bring it back. And what do you work before we let you go? What are you working on now? You've had an incredible journalism career. Congratulations on that, sir.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well deserved. What are you working on now? What's your latest piece?
I'm headed to the WNBA All-Star Game in Chicago this coming weekend. Thrilled about that. My first job out of college, Cyrus, I covered the WNBA, traveled with the team, the New York Liberty, back in 2000. So it's going back a long ways. I'm really eager to see how much the league has grown. And, another part of my job is to cover golf. So I am neck deep in the whole live golf.
Oh, yeah.
And that whole saga there. So I continue to write about that situation, which, evolves as we speak. But that said, basketball is my first love. So, I follow it on and off the court, summer league, the whole thing. So I'm thrilled about it. And I agree. Look, the Warriors have the most assets to give up to get Kevin Durant, but there's a history there. There's a backstory I think complicates everything to the point where you're not going to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And again, I keep telling people, I don't think it's going to happen, but don't be surprised if it does, just because, the Warriors have surprised people before, and Lacob that's his, he loves Durant. Like if anyone was heartbroken more than anyone else from Durant spurning the Warriors, it was Joe Lacob. So to get him back with a 4-year deal locked in, I wouldn't shock me, but you're right. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to actually happen. Eric, man, I'd love to get you back on at some point. And the golf thing, I'm sure for you is awesome, just because the storylines are endless, right? I mean, when has there ever been a competing tour against the PGA? It's fascinating, right? So to talk golf here for a second, but that's just very interesting and entertaining to me. I mean, is same with you? I mean, what are your thoughts on that real quick?
Yes, it's an existential threat to the PGA Tour. And I come into this eyes wide open. I don't have a dog in the fight. So I'm covering both sides of it, trying to develop sources and talk to both sides of it. It's fascinating. There's a lot of issues at play that are complicated, and there's a lot of agencies and organizations on the PGA Tour side that all have to unite and against this threat if it's going to be stymied here. But Live Golf they continue to generate momentum. The two key questions for me: number one, clearly, can they get a media rights deal? Can they get their events on TV? I don't know if they can for many reasons. And the networks are already locked up with the PGA Tour, so they're not going to add Live Golf. Fox has no appetite for golf in general. Is it going to take a streaming platform, an Apple and Amazon to get involved? Do they want that? Is it worth it? I don't know. And the second thing is, are they going to get a big fish, like a really big fish, not Phil Mickelson at 51, 52 years old, but a Jon Rahm, a Jordan Spieth, a McIlroy? There's no evidence right now that they could break through and get a real pillar golfer like that. So given that, I don't know if their ceiling is all that high, but it is going to continue to be a turbulent summer and beyond in the Live Golf drama with the PGA Tour.
Amazing. And by the way, if you ever need contact information for the individual running the sports programming department at Amazon, let me know. She's an incredible human being. I'd love to connect you to if you need that, but you probably have your connections. Let me know though. You have my number. Eric, you can follow Eric Prisbell on Twitter at Eric Prisbell. Again, Prisbell is how you spell his last name. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at Dogsurf Roadshow, and this program on Twitter at Locked On Dubs. Kevin Danis should be joining me tomorrow, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors and of all the Summer League action, to break down how the Warriors' young players are doing so far. Eric, thank you, sir. This was a delight. I learned a lot. It was a pleasure to meet you, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, really enjoyed it, Cyrus. Anytime.
Thanks, man. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Later.